Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the What Fills Your Cup podcast. I am your host, Riley Alexander. Let's do a quick check-in. You know the drill. We always start with a good old check-in. I have been getting so many memories on my Photos app because this time last year, I was wasted on a beach in Thailand. And photo memories are a blessing and a curse because I look back on those photos and that was one of the best times in my life. And now I woke up today and it is torrential downpour raining here in Vancouver. So, as you can imagine, I'm a little thrown off. Didn't need the memories, but also so good to look back on. Speaking of that trip, I reconnected with one of my friends I met when I was there. I met him when I was in Bangkok on my first day there. I just remember landing in Bangkok and being like, one night in Bangkok and the world's my oyster. That song was stuck in my head the whole entire time. And I had one night in Bangkok, and safe to say it was awesome. I feel so grateful that it's April and I've already reconnected with 3 of my friends I made from last year on my travels. When I went to London, I got to meet a few of my friends, and then when I came home, I met another one of my friends. It's just been a really good year of reconnection thus far, and it's only April. What the heck? I'm going to Japan in October, which I'm super, super excited about. That's one of my dream travel destinations. And then I also am going to either Vietnam or Portugal. I really don't know. I'm kind of torn. It really depends how long I want to go away for. Do I want to go away for 1 month or do I want to go away for 2 months? Kind of leaning towards 2 months, but at the same time, I have obligations to fulfill here back home. But you know what? My 20s are meant for my travels, and that is something that I am dedicating my 20s to. Not tying myself down to anything and traveling and seeing the world. That's my goal for my 20s, and I'm fulfilling that. So that's just a little quick update. I just talked about traveling, okay? And it's so interesting the way I tie in my topics of the week to my past, my present, my future, whatever. But one of my favorite things about solo traveling is that I feel like I'm in kindergarten again, trying to make friends. Like, I'm literally going up to people and I'm saying, do you want to be my friend? I'm by myself. Can we hang out? And this week's episode is about healing your inner child. And I feel like solo traveling really did a big number on healing my inner child. And a big part of it was that reason of making new friends and going up to people, pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I know I did a whole episode on solo traveling and the power of traveling in your 20s. You should go check that out if you haven't already. But now we're talking about healing our inner child. And for me, I had a bit of an aha moment when I was away last year and when I was traveling by myself. And that aha moment was the fact that I was making new friends and making connections with people from all around the world. And I was healing a big part of my inner child when I was going up to people and saying, hi, my name is Riley. Nice to meet you. What are you interested in? This is what I'm interested in. Do we have things in common? Do we also want to spend the next few days together? Because I'm all by myself and I can only be by myself for so long before I lose it, and I need personal human connections, aka talking to people. I love talking to people. Hello, I have a freaking podcast. Circling back, today's episode is all about healing your inner child and also providing some of the tips and tools that I've used to help heal her. Now, I talk in her because I'm a she, her. But this could go for however you identify. So I hope that some of these tools can help you, the listener, the viewer. It wasn't until probably 2023, I think, that I really realized I wanted to reconnect with my inner child, heal her, and take care of her, because I really neglected her for a lot of years, and I suppressed a lot of maybe the hurt or the emotions that I was feeling when I was a kid. Now, as an adult, I was ready to reopen some of that and dive deep, find some of the roots, some of my triggers, whatever the case may be. And in 2023, I clearly remember I went away to Victoria, Vancouver Island, with my best friend. My best friend has been my best friend since I was 3 years old, so she has grown up with me. I wouldn't even consider her a best friend because she's more of a sister. I tell her everything. I text her every single day. She is a part of me. I seriously don't know what I would do without her. And she has been there with me my entire life. All of my childhood memories, she is there, okay? And we went away to go visit our friends on Vancouver Island for a weekend. We stayed at their place, and keep in mind, those friends, I've known one of them since I was also 3 years old. And him and I grew up together our whole lives. We went to preschool, elementary school, high school, and we're still friends after university. And then the other friend, I've known him since grade 6. So these are like childhood friends that I have been friends with for years. My best friend and I went over to go visit them for a weekend as just reconnection and hang out because we really wanted to see them. Now, that weekend alone, I think, healed such a big part of my inner child, because we were doing the silliest things. We were being so silly. I don't think we stopped smiling and laughing for 4 days straight. It was so, I think of that trip and I just feel so grateful that I have these people and friendships in my life. And it's also crazy to know that we have been friends our whole lives and we still act as if we are 8 years old when we're together. And it's so therapeutic in a way, and it's so healing, and it's so eye-opening how silly you are when you're with people that you just wholeheartedly can be 100% authentically yourself with. And that trip is just one that is such a core memory for me, and it was so healing. And that was kind of the trip that really made me realize how much I needed to actually work on healing my inner child. Now, for those of you that are like, what are you saying when you say inner child? Your inner child holds your fears, your joys, maybe some of your unmet needs, as well as your core beliefs. Acknowledging that your inner child is still within you is something that a lot of people might neglect for a lot of years, like myself. The younger version of you is always within you. It is literally you. However, your inner child can show up in your adult life, for example, through maybe abandonment issues or people pleasing, lying, and sometimes perfectionism. These are all examples of ways that your inner child can come forward as an adult. Now, I'm not saying that that's exactly what occurs or what happens, but for me, for example, is I found that when I went on my trip to go visit my friends, my inner child was very much coming out. It was bringing joy. It was bringing happiness. It was being so silly and so authentically myself. And I came home from that trip and just realized, wow, I need to see more of her. I need to see more of that version of myself, which is the core who I am, Riley. Silly, outgoing, laughing, bubbly. It was just such an eye-opening experience because I realized for a while I had been suppressing that version of myself. That inner child in me, I was avoiding and not letting her shine and be the person that she is. Now, for me, is I had to really just drop the judgment I had towards myself as a child. I needed to be more gentle when I talked about my childhood and some of the experiences I went through. I had a really, really hard time in elementary school growing up, specifically grade 3. I freaking hated grade 3, grade 4, And grade 5, I honestly was just ready to leave the school. I ended up moving schools when I was in grade 6, but I did not have a good young elementary school experience. And for me is I held on to a lot of those words and emotions. It's crazy how much you remember as a kid, specifically the negative and what you were told. I always just had such a hard time connecting with my peers. However, I am extremely grateful for one of my best friends. Him and I lived down the street from each other growing up, and we were in the same grade. Our moms were friends, and I would always hang out with him. And I clearly remember coming home from school one day crying because none of the girls wanted to play with me on the playground. And my mom was like, why don't you just go ask so-and-so tomorrow at lunch if you can hang out with him and the boys? And I remember going up to him and I said, so-and-so, can I please hang out with you and your friends during lunch? And he was like, yeah, I don't care. Such a boy answer. From that day till grade 7, I'm not on the playground every single day. I was hanging out with the boys. And that was just because I think maybe our energy levels matched. I didn't want to play on the swings. I didn't want to sit on top of the monkey bars. I was like, no, let's play wall ball, foursquare, manhunt. Let's run around and burn off this energy that I have. This is where I need to be. I need to play in the mud. So shout out to my best friend growing up. You know who you are. Where I'm going with this is I also had to drop maybe the shame and the judgment I faced from my peers as a child. I had to remind myself that I have so many female friendships and so many male friendships that fill my cup and make me so happy and bring out my most authentic self, and I can be silly with, and I can say what's on my mind. I can say random things that maybe they won't understand, but they'll just laugh with me, not at me. I had to drop the judgment that I was putting on myself as a young child. And for example, the story I just shared about grade 3 and not fitting in with the girls in my grade, I realized that that was the root to my issue. And that followed along with me all the way up until my early adulthood of just feeling like people were judging me and people were making fun of me, calling me weird, calling me a freak, laughing at me when I wouldn't get something right or when I wouldn't understand something, or rolling their eyes. Fuck, I hate when people roll their eyes at me. Do not roll your eyes at me. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. But that to me is the root that I uncovered was, wow, this is really stemming from my childhood when I would get that fear of judgment or get that fear of not feeling accepted. Maybe that's the right word. You know, look at us go. This is like a therapy session for me, you know? I'm just yapping away, learning things as we go. But I had to heal that part of me, because if I didn't, I would grow up with so much resentment, so much attitude. I would probably be the one rolling my eyes at you. I'm kidding. But I had to be much more gentle with the younger version of myself and remind her that it's okay to feel the way that you're feeling, because this won't be forever. And you're going to grow up and you're going to have the best of friends in the entire world. And you're going to be friends with the people that you grew up with, the childhood friends that had your back when people were mean for the rest of your life. I wanted to share some of the tips and tools and maybe the techniques that I've used that have helped me in healing my inner child and the way I speak to her, the way I see her on an everyday basis. I wanted to share some of these because maybe they'll help you, or maybe you don't even know that your inner child needs healing and you're listening to this episode. Please, I really hope that you're listening to this episode still and thinking, oh wow, I've never actually done the work, or those tools and techniques are things that maybe I could try practicing. My first tool that I want to share is visualization. Now, I have a photo of my younger self right beside my bedside table, and I see it every single day. Obviously, I go to bed every single night, wake up every single morning in my bed, and I have a photo of younger me. And I just like sometimes looking at her and reminding myself now that she is still within me. I need to protect her. I need to be kind to her. When I speak negatively to myself, I remind myself that when I talk mean or down on who I am, I'm also talking to her. And I would never talk to her that way. So why am I doing it now? I actually found this example from Kendall Jenner because in a podcast interview, I think it was with Jay Shetty, and she spoke on how she would remind herself that when you talk negatively to yourself, you're also talking negatively to the younger version of yourself. And she is fragile. She is still learning. She is still growing. And as an adult, we are all still fragile, learning, and growing. So we need to ensure that we're speaking kindly to all versions of ourselves. But to also remind you that that little you, the little fragile, frail, innocent version of you is still within you, and you need to work to protect that and speak to yourself the way you would speak to the younger version of yourself. Some of the affirmations that I would use are, it's okay to feel this way. You are loved just as you are. You have a beautiful group of friendships that love you, support you, care for you, and are there for you. But those are some of the affirmations that I like to tell myself on maybe not a daily, but every other day, maybe weekly. I just try to practice talking much more kindly to myself and giving myself those affirmations. Also, having that visualization of that younger version of you really does help when it comes down to talking nicely to yourself or saying, I said something I wouldn't say to her, so I'm not going to say it to myself and I'm not going to believe what I just said. That could just be something as silly as, I hate the way my face looks today. And believe me, we all have those days. But why would you say that? You would never say that to your younger self. So don't say it to your adult self. We're working on healing all parts of ourselves. And at the end of the day, healing your inner child is kind of where the root can maybe stem from. Another tool that I used, and I actually did this with my therapist a few years ago, and that was writing a letter to my younger self. Now, obviously, I'm not going to read the letter that I wrote to my younger self, but it brought up a lot of things that I didn't even know I was suppressing or feeling. And in that letter, like I said, I just uncovered a lot of things that I didn't even know I was feeling, or unresolved feelings, or maybe things that I was looking at myself now that I didn't know where they were coming from. And through that letter, I was able to realize, oh, maybe that's where those things are coming from. And talking to my younger self in a way of, this is where I am now. I want to remind you that it does get better and that it will be okay, and that this experience at school or this experience at home will get resolved with time, with therapy, with support, with help. It does get better. You can do that. You can write a letter. Or something that I also like to do is journaling, and journaling to your younger self. I've really mentioned how much I love writing on this channel. It's really, really helped me. But I did want to share some journal prompts that could maybe help you in learning about yourself and giving yourself those questions that maybe you haven't ever asked yourself. One of the prompts I would give are, what activities brought you joy growing up? What would I say to 7-year-old me right now? And last journal prompt that I wanted to give is, what did I need to hear when I was a child that I never did? Now, these are a few examples, and obviously you can search up journal prompts on healing your inner child, but these are just a few examples that will really have you thinking and diving deep into what can help me, or uncovering roots of things as I just mentioned. One of my last techniques I wanted to give is the art of play and self-soothing techniques. That's a bit of a tongue twister, sorry. Through the example of what I gave when I was with my friends on Vancouver Island, like I said, we just played. We just had the best time. We were running around Victoria. We were being so silly. We were doing what we wanted to do. We obviously are legal, so we were drinking, having a good time, laughing, listening to music, dancing. And all those things were extremely soothing and healing. And it was just play. It was just having fun. I guess through what I'm trying to say is, do activities that your younger self enjoyed. So for me is I love to dance freely. I love to just dance around. I'm always dancing. If you follow me on Instagram, I post little dance videos all the time. And I'm not good at it, but I don't care because I, as a child, would make plays, dance shows, dance recitals. I would be in my room with my little boom box and just hit play and dance all night. I would make routines. It was the thing to do. It is something that my younger self loves to do. So as an adult, I am ensuring that I never stop doing just that. It could be going on the playground and swinging, going on the swings, playing. What was that game where Groundhog, where you close your eyes and you're on the playground? So dangerous, by the way. Like, who made that up? People would just eat shit and fall off the equipment. Like, hello, broken bones galore. But play those games, playing manhunt, coloring, writing, whatever it is that your younger self liked to do. I want you guys to try doing at least one thing. It could be a coloring book. It could be writing a poem or a play of some form that's 2 minutes long. It could also be making a dance routine and recording yourself and watching yourself do it. Actually, my best friend and I did do that like last year. It was hilarious. We were laughing so hard. We were like, okay, yo, if this song comes on in the club, we have a full-on dance routine, step by step, in our back pockets. Don't lose sight of the things that brought you joy as a kid and ensure that you are enabling those activities into your weekly routine. It's really helped me. It keeps me feeling bubbly and happy. So that is why I always suggest on doing the activities that made you happy as a child, because I know for a fact they will make you happy as an adult as well. I hope some of these tools maybe brought you insight. Also, you got to hear a few little story times of my childhood, what brings me joy. But I did want to leave you all with a final question before I sign off on today's episode. And that question is, if you could say anything to your younger self right now, what would it be and why? Overall, maybe starting to bring some of those happy thoughts and joys that your younger self once felt into your adult life and adult routine, because I promise you it is so worth it. It makes me so happy when I can feel my inner child come forward, and reminder to talk kindly to that person, to also remind yourself that you are proud of what they've been through, and to also sit back as an adult and remind yourself that you are proud of where you are now. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I want to remind you that I am proud of you and I'm proud of all that you have overcome. Do not forget to comment what videos or topics you want me to talk about next. I am so excited for you guys to meet my guest on Sunday, so make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel to see all future episodes. And before I sign off, as always, if you haven't heard it today, I love you, and do not forget to tell someone you love them, because you never know who needs it a little extra. Bye!